Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I want to say hello, and we are on YouTube saying hello to all of our friends, neighbors, traders, and our members. And I do want to thank you all for coming. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. I was just relaxing in my chair. I was doing my transcendental meditation. I thought maybe today I'd give away my mantra. When I first took transcendental meditation, let me turn down the sound on my laptop. You weren't allowed to give away your mantra. It would negate, they told us that it would negate all of the benefits of transcendental meditation. Do you think that's really true? That if you give away the mantra, it's going to interfere with the relaxation techniques that transcendental meditation gives us? I don't think so. But so my mantra is I just can't do it. So I'm not going to do it. But it's three letters. And I bet everybody has the same mantra. But you know what's funny? A lot of times in life you joke about all sorts of different things. It's probably 40 years ago that I did transcendental meditation. And I've done it on and off through my life. And it really is an amazing way to relax. It really does work. You just get lost in a drifting, not sleep, but a very relaxed state of mind. It's really a great thing. And it's still around these days. And back then, the yogi, Maharishi Yogi, I guess, I don't even remember what his name was, but something like that. He was alive then, but I guess I can feel his spirit all around me today. And I think it's one of the best things I've done in my life. Transcendental meditation. TM, they used to call it. I think I was in high school when I did it. High school. I'm not going to talk about the year that I graduated high school. I don't even think the building is still standing. I don't think, when you sign up for a service and you have to put in your age and it goes through all the numbers. Some of the services I sign up for now, they don't even go back far enough to get my age. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary. But I'm not going to worry about that today. I realize that the next breath I take could be my last. And that's sort of why I'm here, because I want to share my knowledge before I'm gone. I'm a terrible trader. I mean, that's the sad reality. I am a terrible trader, but I'm a fantastic teacher. And I would say that the members that I teach do so much better in their trading than I do. They take all of the good that I can teach them and they use that and they ignore my bad habits because I have bad habits that are hard to change. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today is bad habits and how hard they are to change. Do you get out of your trades too quickly? I always do. Are you in fear that you're going to get stopped out? I often am. Even though I'm a professional trader, I still get scared in trades. How do you beat it? How do you defeat those bad habits? And one way is transcendental meditation. I'm not joking. It lets you relax. You have to learn not to panic, not to worry, not to bring all that negative baggage with you on every trade. You have to learn patience. And you learn all of those things by doing it over and over, by studying your trades, recording your trades, keeping a journal. All of those elements help you to break the bad habits. Sometimes you have to accept that certain things are just difficult to change, but every morning I wake up, every morning is a new day, and every morning I truly believe in my heart that I am going to break my bad habits from the day before. I don't know why or how I'm lucky enough as a person to actually really be able to think that way, that if I have a terrible trade, I'm able to leave it in the past and go on to the next trade without hardly even thinking about that previous bad trade. That is also a big part of helping yourself to be successful as a trader. Now, we trade news. A lot of folks that are here at our live stream, you know us. 10-minute trades. What do? We trade the news using the NinjaTrader platform, and we have our own special software. Our software allows us to enter trades automatically most of the time, so you don't have to fumble around putting your orders on a chart when a fast moving news event is going to take place. It's a challenge to defeat those bad habits, but one great thing about trading the news, things are happening so fast, you don't have time to spend on your bad habits. You're reacting, you're moving your orders, you're checking out your stop, you're making sure that the news is what you thought it might be, or what is the news? How is it going to move the market? Are you on the right side of the market after the news is released? There's lots of things that you have to do when you trade the news. We make it easier because we have software that lets us trade the news. And one of the features of today's stream is the magnet trade. I know if you're a member of our trade room, you know what a lunatic I am about the magnet trade. And I've been updating it nonstop for the past 2, 3 months, adding features to it, and we're pretty much done. Pretty much I've been told by the owners of the company that nah, we're not spending any more money right now. Let's sell some magnet trade software. And they've been really great about letting me run with this strategy. So we had one final big upgrade, and I received that software literally 2 days ago. And I'm going to show those features. And I'm hoping by next week, everyone will have the new magnet trade, and we also have a JOBB version 11, a small upgrade. A couple of things we did to our main software. So I've actually got one more trap trade update that I'd like to do before the end of the year. So we'll keep you all posted on that. But, this is not a big selling live stream, but I do want to just say a couple of things. Don't forget that all the trades that I'm talking about, all the trades that I'm going to show you, are for educational purposes only. You can lose money trading futures. I'm not a financial advisor. Okay? We're going to talk about the magnet trade today, and I just want to go over a couple of things in my slide deck here. I want to thank everybody for being here. There is a link on our YouTube page, and I will send everybody that's coming to this stream, I'll send you a link so that you could join us and become a member. Also, if you want to reach me personally, you can send me an email, help@10minutetrades.com. Help at the number 10minutetrades.com if you want to reach me and ask me any questions. Okay, so feel free to send me an email. I tell you every week why I love 10-minute trades. I love getting in a trade real quickly. I love that earnings or news or levels and magnets make the market move quickly. And I love not staying in the market for hours and hours at a time. I love the explosions in price, and I love getting in and out in a moment's notice. Sometimes our trades take place in nanoseconds, and I love the short-term trading. Also, futures allow you leverage, meaning you don't have to have $100,000 in a trading account. You can have $2,500 in a trading account, and you can use the leverage of futures to build up your account. Also, earnings reports. We love trading earnings reports. We kind of had a mediocre trading day yesterday. Not everybody was having a winning day, but Adobe earnings, I'll show you that trade in a few minutes, saved the day. Another great earnings report that we traded. We devised a methodology to trade earnings using futures. So we take selected stocks, the stocks that we know are going to move the best, with futures, and we trade those earnings with futures, not with the stock prices, because you can't do it with the stock price and with the actual stock unless you have a big account with money in it. There's a wash rule. You can't keep buying and selling a stock over and over and over each day unless you have a lot of money in your account so that you can deal with the margin, and or there's also something called a wash rule. You can only trade the same security so many times in a day or in a week. So futures don't have that restriction. Also, we can use prop trading with what we do. Many of our members are using Buell Knox, even Apex with their rules. Apex, Buell Knox, Lilu, uh, Take Profit, Trade for Profit. I forget the name. There's another one. I'll look it up. I'll send it to you. Um, we use so why would you want to use a prop account for one? So there's more than one way you could set up a trading account. You could set up a cash account where you have to come up with the money. You have to put the money in your account. You have to fund it. With a prop account trading, you pay a company a very small monthly fee, and they let you have the NinjaTrader platform. They give you live data, everything that you need to trade. And then from us, you subscribe to our software in our trade room. You put that system together. You have a low cost trading system. And for beginners, you can learn to trade without blowing up your account. How many accounts did I blow up when I was a very beginner 10 years ago, when I didn't know about this type of trading where you could trade with a prop account, trade other people's money ultimately is the goal. But everything is so different now. It's actually much easier to be a trader, but it's hard to be a trader because trading is a difficult job. Everybody thinks it's easy, that you just get up, you follow somebody's signals, and then all of a sudden you're thousands of dollars in the green. Don't kid yourself. Be willing to learn. Be willing to put some time in. Do you know anybody that does anything that didn't put any time in it to get good at it? I don't. Maybe you get a lucky viral video. That's about it. You got to work. You got to put some labor in. You got to love what you're doing. Otherwise, what's the point? So, what do you get when you are a member with us? We have four elements that make up our system. The daily market mover is the trade report. We send it to our members the day before a trade. Not every event has a trade report. I'd say about 70% of them do. Then we have our trade room. That's where we talk about everything. We set up our trades. We go over the news. We talk about music. We have a good time trading the news. And then we have different types of setups, the trap trade. We've got all of these things that make up our system, an unbelievable value. The magnet strategy, job software, job version 11, the pro trade room access, all of this. We're going to give you a link at the end of this. You can do it in a prop account. I want you to sign up so that I could teach you how to have a great day when Adobe earnings come out. So look, yesterday we traded the WASD report, and no one shows, and I'm looking to the side because I got to get my videos, so forgive me. Nobody shows losing trades. But I'm going to show you a losing trade because I turned a beautiful winning trade into a loser. And sometimes that happens. I just mistraded it. So we have a report, we call it the WASD report. It's a grain report. It comes out once a month, and we trade corn and soybeans. Okay. So I've got corn being traded on the right, and I've got soybeans being traded on the left. So I talked about habits, bad habits. My worst trading bad habit is I'm always in a rush. I never let a trade breathe long enough. So I choke off my profits. Instead of letting the trade breathe, I move my stop, which is a way to get out of a trade. I move that too close to the price, and it takes me out of a trade too soon. Sometimes if you're patient and you wait, you'll make much more money. So these little X's here, those are our orders. The WASD report, it comes out at noon. You could see that soybeans chopped down, it burst down, and it had a certain look of a losing trade. We call it a nick fill, where the price pops down and then it immediately reverses and you lose the trade. It's just called a nick fill. It looked exactly like that was happening on this trade, and I let the psychology of that thinking ruin my trade because it killed my patience. I thought we were in a nick fill, so I was thinking I've got to get out of this trade as soon as possible. As soon as it goes profitable, I want out. So I shrunk my stop. I got out with like a $75, $40 profit. Now, if I would have waited, watch, woulda, shoulda, coulda, often comes into play. The price kept going down, 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 and it would have been a much better profit. You must be smart and have patience. Now, we traded two different setups on this trade. We had two completely different ways to trade two different instruments, corn and soybeans. Soybeans, we traded what we call a breakout trade. An explosion in one direction is our best friend. And then on the corn side of things, we traded what we call a trap trade. Our worst enemy on a trap trade is an explosion in one direction. Now, it did explode in one direction on corn, and our stop, our out of the trade safety net, was a little bit too small. Nobody's fault because corn has not been responding well to this trade, to this news event. Over the past year, corn has been moving very small amounts. So our setup was perfectly okay. We had no way of knowing corn would have a much bigger move than normal yesterday. And it took me out of the trade with a loss. And again, I double mistraded this trade. I know, and we had set up a reversal on soybeans. I knew that corn would reverse after the trap trade didn't work. Watch the pricing. So here's the move down. And now, as the trade ends, as a loser, and like I said, I'm not afraid to show losers. We have tons of winners. Now you should have gotten into the trade long, the opposite direction, and you could have made all your money back on the reversal. Watch. It was a beautiful, you'll see it in a second. Beautiful, beautiful reversal. I actually did take with real money a small reversal, but my psychology was just in the wrong place yesterday. I had lost money in my cash account on the trap trade, and I was struggling to stay in the reversal because I was too worried about losing more money. But look what the worry does. It creates the exact scenario you're trying to avoid. So I took a small winner right here, and then instead of staying in to take advantage of this gigantic reversal, look at that thing. It went almost all the way back to where the trade started. I choked myself out. So, I want to be fully transparent. I'm not afraid to show you all that sometimes we have a loser. It happens. And then at the end of the day, we traded Adobe earnings. And I'll show you those in a little bit. Just wanted to just shoot through our slides. You'll get a link to learn with us. It's just $97 a month. It's a great deal. All the things that you get, the Magnet Trade, the live news trading room, JOBB Software 11. I really care. I want to spend time helping you do this and teaching you how to do it. Our members love us. One of our members made $825 on Facebook. There's a little bit old screen. I've got way newer screens. Testimonials. Alfred, I helped him set up his charts. Lee, you're the best person I've ever met. Thank you so much for helping me. I'm not the best person, but I will do anything to help you. That's the truth. And then other testimonials. I had a couple of bad trades recently, but today was my lucky day. I made $644 in cash. That means I'm done for the day and I'll watch the rest of the trading. And then Arthur A. just qualified my third account for funding with this NQ trade. I love 10-minute trades. Funded 3 Apex accounts with their system. So just remember, you can trade prop accounts with what we do. And then Ravi, a member, traded Adobe yesterday. He made over $500 in his prop account on Adobe earnings. So you'll get the link. We'll send it to you. It's on our YouTube site. Join with us so we can teach you how to do this. All right, let's get into other things that I wanted to talk about. Just the news in general. I love talking about, I love paying attention to all the regular news that's in the world, because it's crazy. So I like to go through the news before this stream. And if you want to make a comment at some of the news, just make a comment and I'll comment on it. So a couple of things I've been thinking about. It's just stuff I've been thinking about. Like, when did Tom Hanks become so unlikable? I used to love him. I don't like him anymore. I don't know what happened. James Earl Jones passed away this week. Great, great actor. Deserves, I think, all the accolades that he's been getting. And one of my all-time favorites, Field of Dreams. He was great in that movie, and I just sorry that he passed, and just wanted to say, give my respect to James Earl Jones. Then also a couple of things that I saw that I just couldn't believe. A 37-year-old UFC fighter who was knocked into a coma for 2 days. Why does someone keep fighting when they're 37 years old in that kind of potential for personal danger? Do they need the money? I don't know, but I felt really bad. James Vick, a pretty good fighter, was a champion from what I understand. I was really sorry to see that. But one of the funniest, craziest stories of the week. First of all, he's probably one of the greatest looking people that ever lived. How do you get so lucky to be like the best looking person who ever lived, to be in one of the best bands that people ever loved, and you talk a woman off of a suicide, off of a bridge? I mean, it's like insane. John Bon Jovi. He's in the news for talking down a woman off of a bridge. She was going to commit suicide. I mean, can can you do anything wrong in your life? Is it possible? It's just life is so bizarre and so crazy. And then Shannon Sharp, how do you figure that? He accidentally streams a sex tape. How do you accidentally? First of all, who records their own sex tapes? Not me. This world is crazy. That's all I can say. So I don't know how that happens. He accidentally sends it out to millions of followers, millions. So let's talk about a little bit more serious news, a little bit more business news. So, what's going on with Boeing? Now the machinists are on strike. Boeing is a company with such serious problems. They've got a new CEO, and I don't know if this new CEO can fix it. The Starliner, they didn't trust it enough to take the astronauts home. They basically stranded the astronauts. Um, they don't want to pay their machinists. Apparently, they haven't gotten raises in more than 6 years. I would not want to be the CEO of Boeing. What's interesting is we recently traded Boeing's earnings. We made money on them. And I did think they were going to be short, and they were. You know what? I wish I had the Boeing trade here, because now that I'm thinking about it, were they short? How many times do you trade the market and you're positive that something's going to happen, that you expect to happen, and obviously it's totally different than what you expected? That happens all the time. And that's a really strong reason why you want to be extremely careful with the way that you trade. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that Boeing's earnings video, so I'll save it for next time. I know we made money on their earnings. I just don't recall if they went long or short after all that crazy news. Interestingly, we had the ECB refi rate this week that we traded. And you know what? Let's go over what happened this week. So one of the big things that we do on these streams is I like to pull up the schedule from last week and then give you an honest appraisal of exactly what took place in our trade room. So let me do that. Let me bring it up. I create a special schedule where I notate everything. So let's see if I have it. Here it is. So what we're going to do is look at the results. So this week, here we go. All right. So we started out the week Sunday evening. We have reports that we call watches. Now, our schedule is free. You can go to our website, www.10minutetrades.com, and you can sign up for our free video, How to Find 10 Minute Trades, and we'll send you the weekly schedule. So, 10minutetrades.com, sign up for our free weekly schedule, and then we'll send you like 1,000 emails every week for the rest of your life. Not that much. We had a watch on a couple of reports: Japan GDP and China CPI PPI. When we say it's a watch, what that means is, hey, here's a report. Take a look at it. If you're an experienced trader and you know how to set up a trade with our software, you might want to experiment on that event. It's not trades that we're recommending you necessarily trade unless you're experienced and you've traded it before and you test the trade. We don't just randomly trade a news event just because it shows up on a calendar. Where do we find our trades? How do we figure out what even to trade? There are calendars that exist: financialjuice.com, forexfactory.com, where they list news events and you can go through them and figure out which ones make sense to trade. But sometimes you haven't tested a report, you're just looking at them to see if they're going to be worth trading in the future. So, no trades for Japan GDP for us or Chinese CPI PPI. And also, I noticed there was a New York Fed inflation expectation report on Monday morning. It didn't really move the market, so we probably won't spend much time on that in the future. We did have a trade room for Oracle earnings Monday afternoon, and it really didn't move the market. Oracle is not an earnings trade that we have been trading very much, but we decided, let's take a look. We'll have a trade room, never hurts to spend a half an hour to see if it's worth trading. That's the way we test our trades very often. We'll do it together so we could teach everyone how to test trades. And then many of our trades we'll test on our own. One of our team members, Chantal, and myself do a lot of testing. And that's just something that we do. So we test publicly and we also test privately. Oracle just didn't move the market, so there was no trade. Then Tuesday, the British average earnings, that's 2 in the morning my time because I'm on Eastern time. We do have a setup for that event, and it actually looked like it had a pretty good move. I did not trade it because it was 2 in the morning, but it looked like that might have been a winning trade. I didn't hear from anyone that traded it, so I'm not going to say 100% winner or loser, but the move that I saw when I looked at it looked pretty good. Tuesday afternoon, our first live trade of the week was the API report. If you notice, it's a family money trade on our schedule. That means if I was trading my own family, if I was managing my own family's money, I would use it to trade the API report. And that was a small winner on Tuesday. Wednesday, it was a watch for British GDP, but we had CPI. Everybody knows that core CPI is a dramatic event to trade. The brokers raise margins, and there's a significant amount of risk on that type of a trade also. Well, we have a setup that helps us to be as safe as possible on this type of news. And we traded the CPI report with our software. And again, our software helps us to automate part of the trade. First thing that we do is we send our members the day before the event the way that we are very seriously considering how we're going to trade this report. I had set up, or I should say we had set up a bond setup, a breakout trade, and that's what this little sheet is. It tells our members how to enter the items into our software so they can trade this trade. Here's what happened. It wound. Now remember, the brokers raise margin on this event. There is significant risk. So I warn our members all the time. You don't have to trade every report. You don't have to trade significant risk reports. But this report has been performing pretty well according to my testing using bonds. So I traded it pretty normally in our prop account with our bond setup, as did a lot of members. And here's what happened. Our orders showed up on the chart. There was a beautiful explosion to the downside. It immediately made us money, and it was a very successful CPI trade. So that was a real nice winner in the room. And I believe that almost every single member that traded it with us made money. So that was another great trade this week. Then members, we had a trade room at 10 o'clock for crude oil. Now, I'll show you this because this is very interesting. Let me grab the right video here. 2 seconds. I hope this is the right one. No, it isn't. Give me a second. I have too many videos. So what we do with crude oil, darn it. I know I have this video, so I'm gonna look for it because it has a couple of different things that are really worthwhile. If I can't find it, I'm gonna have to give up. Let me look in one more place. So we had a magnet set up for it also. And I put it on my desktop. I'm sorry to say I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I had to leave the trade room that morning and come back and retrade it. Let me see if this is the video or if this is me doing my Shannon Sharp. I don't think it is. No, this is the NQ. So I'll just have to tell you what happened. So we traded a oil breakout, and the oil breakout worked perfectly. And then after the oil breakout, we had set up a magnet trade as well. And, I've got one other place I could look. No, I can't look for it. So I'm going to show you a real magnet trade, and I'll explain what it is. But let's suffice it to say, we had the potential for two winning trades on crude oil. Then at 12:30, we had the 10-year bond auction. We did not have a trade room for that event. That was a tiny winning trade if you took our trade recommendation and traded it. And that was everything for Wednesday. On Thursday, we were just watching Spanish CPI. That was not a live trade room for us. We were in the room for the ECB, the European rate statement, the ECB main refi rate it's called. And I was expecting actually a monster move. They were expected to drop their interest rate 60 basis points. They did exactly that, and it didn't move the market barely at all. We lost like $40 on that trade just because it really didn't move and there wasn't any opportunity. Then we had what I also thought would be a big trade, the PPI report. Like the CPI, it's an inflation report that the market looks at very seriously. No trade. It just didn't move the market. Then we had our natural gas trade. We are now trading natural gas every week. Natural gas has been trading great since about March. It's become a very reliable event to trade. This was natural gas on Wednesday. Anybody that traded it live made money. And again, the day before, we send out the way that we're going to trade it. Also, this natural gas event, it's weekly, and we have a mini journal for this event also that we send our members. And you could see that the last 6 weeks had 4 out of 6 winners. So that helps you to make a decision. People always ask us, well, how do you know which reports, which news to trade? We test the news. We test each individual report over and over and over so that if a report has 4 losers in a row, probably not going to trade it. If it's got 4 out of 6 winners in a row, we probably are going to trade it. So we set up our natural gas trade. There's our orders on the chart. The news came out and the price exploded to the upside. For my trade, it hit one target and changed direction. For members in the room, it hit both their targets. And then I do believe that there was a secondary trade after natural gas. We often trade after the news on many reports. because there are opportunities after the news is released. Natural gas often has reversals, as you could see there. We did not take the reversal that day, but many days we do. So, very often, natural gas, oil, those trades will have multiple trades besides just our breakout trade. And that's something new that we've been doing more and more. And we will continue trying to do it more and more as time goes on. Add more after the news trades because the opportunities are there and we want to take advantage of them. Then I already showed you the WASD report, which unfortunately I just did not trade it well. And that happens. But then we had the 30-year bond. It was a tiny winner, maybe one tick on the bonds and a couple of ticks on the YM portion of the trade. And then we came to Adobe earnings. Now, I knew in my heart of hearts that Adobe was going to be a solid trade. Last quarter, it was a great trade, and there was really no reason to think it would not be a good trade yesterday. There's a couple of things, I'm just getting the video, that we look for on an earnings trade. What's important on an earnings trade? Number one, earnings trades are not exactly the same as, say, a jobs report trade. An earnings trade requires us to know that the earnings are being released reliably on time, on the time that the company says they're releasing them. So we need reliability in the earnings release time. And then, of course, we need normal reliability in the way that the futures respond to the earnings. If every quarter, when Adobe releases their earnings, the NQ reacts differently, then it might not be an event we can trade. The reason we can do what we do is because the news causes predictable movement in the instruments that we're trading. That's the key. And then we're using the probabilities also. How many times in a row has this trade been successful? How many times out of 6 quarters has this trade been working? So we calculate in the probabilities into all of our analysis, and then we come up with a setup that allows us to trade this report. Well, Adobe had a great report last quarter. It's one of those earnings that are pretty new to us. We never really did much with Adobe earnings. But sometimes from experience, I knew from my experience that we could expect a good move from Adobe. I did research. I looked at some of their old events. They almost always release their earnings exactly when they said they were. If they say 405, it was only a couple of seconds after 405. And they're an expensive stock. People care about their earnings. They affect the market when they release their earnings. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Our orders went on the chart a couple of seconds before the earnings were released. The price exploded down, hit all of our targets, a beautiful winning trade. Members made money, and members are great because they send me their screenshots, and I love getting their screenshots. I showed you this before. Ravi over $500 in his prop account, and you could see where the money gets made. When you get a beautiful candle that moves down like that, that's an opportunity to make money. And then also Langford, who's one of very influential member because he helped open my eyes to certain earnings trades, and I'll always be thankful to Langford for that. But unfortunately, he can't be a free member, but that's okay. He made over $400 on his Adobe earnings trade, and that's awesome. The key is we're in a community that shares. If you share, you want to be in a community where members share their ideas. We have a trade coming up next week. If it wasn't for a member, I would not know about it. Sometimes members will share the basics, the beginnings, the gestation of an idea, and then we'll take that knowledge and run with it because that's what we do. We're experienced with this type of trading, and we're experienced with doing the homework, doing that deep dive into the event, looking at the probabilities, the movement. And that's how we come up with these great setups. And that's what we teach over and over, day in, day out in our trade room. So that Adobe trade was awesome. Like I said, our members made money and we were really happy about that. Now, I want to show you the new magnet upgrade because the new magnet upgrades, it's awesome. So what is a magnet? I've talked about it in a variety of different trade rooms. And one incredible thing about this magnet strategy is if you're an experienced trader or if you've been searching for the perfect robot, you know, you've come to know that there is no such thing as a robot that is always successful. It just doesn't work that way. Now, maybe AI, who knows? I'm never going to say never. AI might really be a game changer. I've yet to see a strategy that wins all the time. Now, of course, there are strategies that are more successful than others. But here's what is fascinating about the magnet. But to finish that previous point, strategies or robots that don't win all the time, it's because the markets always change. Robots always have to be tweaked. You have to adjust the targets. You have to adjust the stops. Sometimes you have to adjust even the type of trade it is. It might reverse for 4 months straight, and then it might become a breakout, a move in one direction. That's what the markets do. They don't act the same way all the time. And that's the challenge of news trading. We're always keeping an eye on the movement, the way everything is changing. But here's what's fascinating about the magnet trade. First of all, if you understand what a magnet is, it's the most simple concept. It's a level on the chart that tons of people look at, and it attracts or repels price because so many people look at the same levels. Those magnets, those levels are always, always going to be magnets. And I think I can say that comfortably. What are magnets? Pivots, highs of day, lows of day, VWAPs. These are areas on the charts that from the beginning of trading time have attracted or repelled price, and there's no reason to think that that will ever change. There will always be levels on the charts that attract and repel price. Our magnet trade allows you to set the trade up using any level on the chart you desire. So if the whole world of trading changes and highs of days and lows of days don't work anymore as magnets, you can design your own. So I always say if you like Fibonacci's, you could set up magnets around your Fibonacci's. If you like Elliott waves, you could set up your magnets around those Elliott waves. If you know that highs of days and lows of days attract price, then our magnet trade has that built in. And our magnet trade has custom level support built in. So our magnet trade, as far as I could see, it should work forever. That's why I'm so excited about it. It allows you, first of all, how many times a day do you watch the high of day getting tested, the low of day getting tested? It happens over and over. If you do a little bit of research and studying about what times are the best times to trade, you're going to be able to really, really excel at the magnet trade. Because look, let's be 100% truthful. Every single high of day and every single low of day is not a magnet. Sometimes it depends on the time of day you're trading. What if it just tested the magnet 15 minutes ago? That might take away the magnetism, if you know what I mean. So the key is you need to know a little bit about trading and charts so you can make intelligent decisions. But one thing we hadn't planned on was trading magnet trades around news. It wasn't the way we originally decided to trade the magnet trade. We originally decided to just trade it as you're looking at the charts, seeing the highs and lows get tested. So this was a trade that we took in April. I noticed that there was a low of day on oil. The magnet trade is perfect for that. You could set up a trade where you're expecting the price to go to the low of day. It puts the targets there. It enters you in automatically. And if you get it right, it will hit those targets and you'll have a winning trade just like there. But the point is this. Of course, I could show you 500 winning magnet trades today. That's not really the point. The point is, if you understand the markets, highs of days and lows of days are going to be magnets. Pivots, R1, R3, those are going to be magnets. And those levels are going to be tested throughout the day on various instruments. That's what's so important. So there will be many opportunities to trade the magnet trade during any day. So narrow it down. What are some of the really good times to trade? Around earnings. Right before earnings, you often get testing of the high and low. Right after earnings or right during the earnings, we can set up magnet trades that will test the low and the high. So if you use your head, think about what makes a magnet the most magnetized, then you're going to be able to figure out how to trade these events, these magnets, over and over and over. So what we've done is added some features to the current version. So let me just show you a couple of quick things because I think we've really come a long way in literally a month. So if you want to set up a magnet trade, for argument's sake, right now, this would not be a magnet that I would trade because it was just tested a little while ago. But this is a magnet. I put the strategy on the chart. We have a proximity control, and it's 10% from the magnet. So let's just put this trade on, enable it, and we'll see what's going on. If the price goes to this thick green line here, it'll put me in the trade automatically if I turn the button on purple, make it auto mode. Okay? If it's not auto mode, when it gets to the price, it will blink purple, and I can press the button. It'll put me in the trade. Also, now there's a long or short button. Sometimes you might trade a magnet, but you're very close to both sides of the trade. You might have a low of day and a high of day, and you only want one of them to be traded, so you could use long or short. And then also there's a trade you could enter immediately. If you see the market absolutely looks like a magnet is taking place, but your setup is a little bit further away in time than the current market is reflecting, you could do an enter now and it'll put you in the trade. And we've added auto targets now, especially on the high of day, low of day magnet trade, where it will put the target 3 ticks before it gets to the high of day or 3 ticks before it gets to the low of day. So big updates, big updates to the setup. Makes it much easier to trade. Obviously, you've got a magnet trade taking place right now. Will it test the high? I might not have taken this trade because it literally, like I said, it just tested it. One thing that maybe might give you a reason to consider taking it, gold is very bullish. It's up over $30 today. So there's always reasons why you might do something, why you might not. And that's just part of trading. That's what you learn when you become a trader, when you learn how to do everything that you need to do. And actually, it's interesting. The magnet is pulling the price. It is a little slow this time of day. We are lunchtime. We have this great clock that we give people in our trade room right there and lets us keep a real good eye on the time. Trading and time obviously are very critical. They work together, and you don't want to be trading certain times of the day are not good for certain instruments. All right. So new features. You can hover over the button now and you can see your targets. You can see the buys and the sells and the targets. Makes it much, much easier to find your targets. Now also you can move the magnet. I'm going to close this trade. When you enable a trade, it's not automatic. So it's not going to put you in a trade unless you put it on automatic. But I can see where I'm going to get filled by this thick line. That's my fill. It's a certain proximity to the magnet. That audio sound also, there's now an audio alert if the magnet is valid. And I can press the button to enter the trade. Or I could say to myself, you know what? I don't like that spot. It's too far away. Let me move my entry. You can now move the entry manually, and the software keeps track of it. Okay. Target is going to be the same in this case because our test, our fill, our target is the magnet. The orders are not the magnet, they are places to enter the market prior to getting to the magnet because remember, the magnet is what pulls us into the price. Think of all the times during the day that you could have a magnet trade setting up. I love gold and I love highs of the day and I love lows of the day. They make it really easy to look for magnets. So some of the new features, being able to see the targets, it's much easier to set up the trades now. You can decide on a direction just with a button on the chart trader. You can enter now if the market is really pushing up. You don't have time to change your settings and you want to get in right now. You can just click the enter now button. It puts you in the trade. Targets right where you want them. Just in my opinion, a fantastic upgrade. So I'm very excited about it. And like I said, we should have our software released. I believe that I'll have it ready for everyone by next week. I haven't found any bugs with it. That's what we're doing now. We're just doing our final testing. And now our last little clip of the day. I don't see any questions. I can't believe there's no questions here with all the thousands of people that are visiting with us on our YouTube stream. If you can hit the like button, that would really, really be appreciated. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them about news trading. But I'd like to give everybody a quick look at next week's schedule. So let me pull the schedule up. I'm just aggravated that I can't find that oil trade that I put aside for everybody. I wanted you to see that magnet and yesterday's oil trade. So maybe I'll put it in the email that I send to everyone. So here's next week's schedule, which we got done early. I'll go over it with you. There are some very, very good events coming up for next week. Get rid of our clock. And we've got 3 family money trades next week. So we'll be starting early, Monday at 8 o'clock. With Empire State Manufacturing, and we will be streaming that on YouTube as well. And then probably our best trade of the year, the Nopa Crush trade. I think that we've got one stop since December, and I think that covers actually about 14 months of trading. The only loser was December. And thank you, Ray, very much for hitting that like button. It's really appreciated. And David, watching and learning is what it's all about. It takes time. And, that's what we do in our trade room. We spend so much time going over everything. And we do it on our YouTube streams. Our YouTube stream is a stream of our trade room. So you can learn a tremendous amount from our YouTube streams. So Monday, we'll have 2 events. The Nopa Crush trade, which is a family money trade, that will be an absolute live trade, and I will have to fix that. That's not a watch, that's a live trade. Tuesday, we'll be in the trade room for Canada's core CPI at 8 o'clock, and then U.S. retail sales. another family money trade. That's a report a lot of people are looking out for, and that will be another stream on YouTube, retail sales. 9 o'clock, we'll be back in the room just to watch industrial production and capacity utilization. It's a watch. In other words, it's a trade I've been trying to get a setup for years. It just hasn't been moving the market well enough that I recommend trading it. But we watch it because it's the kind of event that all of a sudden it could become tradable. So we like to keep an eye on it. 20-year bond will be in that trade room 12:30 on Tuesday, and then again the API report. That's a weekly oil report every Tuesday 4 p.m. family money trade. Wednesday at 2 o'clock, you have British CPI, no trade room for that one. 5 a.m. on Wednesday, the European core CPI. You know what's funny about that event? You'd think it would move the euro market. It just never moves the market very much. I don't know why. It probably moves Forex. That's my feeling about that particular European trade. That's a Forex trade. For some reason, it just doesn't move the futures. Then we'll be in the room Wednesday for U.S. building permits and housing starts. That's a moderate to decent trade, not a family money trade. It might be a little better than a 50-50. Every, it's not a winner every time. It's not a loser every time. It's so trade. And then we'll be back for crude oil at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. And then obviously everybody knows the event of the year, could we say, the FOMC statement on Wednesday. Um, will that be safe to trade? Unknown at the moment. Unknown. It's pretty much a given that they're going to reduce rates. I think they'll reduce rates 25 basis points. They're already probably behind the eight ball, having not reduced rates at the last meeting. I think they'll scare people if they reduce rates 50 basis points. They probably should, though. A lot of people think. But the Fed FOMC statement Wednesday will be in the trade room at 1:30, anxiously awaiting that, and will make a decision at the last moment whether or not that will be safe to trade. Sometimes a market can be so volatile, you might have to wait till after the news release to trade it. And then we'll take a look 6:30 p.m. New Zealand GDP and Australia's jobs report Wednesday evening at 9:15. We'll be in the trade room for that. Thursday, a short trade room for the Bank of England's rate statement. Um, They'll probably drop rates as well, I would guess. That's a real possibility. And then 8 o'clock, back in the room on Thursday for unemployment numbers with Philly Fed. Two events at 9:45. Existing home sales actually takes place at 10. And existing home sales seems to be coming back to life as a trade. That's worth taking the risk on that trade. We'll stream that on YouTube. And then natural gas, we already discussed natural gas. We'll stay in the room for natural gas. And then FedEx earnings. Right now, we don't have a trade room scheduled, but I'll do some last minute testing on FedEx. Has not been a great earnings trade. If it's not a great trade, why bother, right? You want to spend your money and your time on the great ones. FedEx just hasn't been moving the markets enough to make it worth trading. And then Friday, 8 o'clock, Canada's core retail sales, a pretty mediocre event, but it's been coming back to life, and it may be that it's worth trading. That's what we're trying to figure out with that report. That will finish out our week. So that's an advanced look at next week's schedule. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Trigger times are Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast, so the trigger times, yes, are Eastern time. So how do we find these reports? A variety of different ways. OptiTrader is saying our GC Magnet trade is working great. Awesome, Opti. I'm glad to hear it. I love the trade. I'm so happy that we got it programmed and that we got it programmed so great. I love our programmer. He's great. If anybody wants a recommendation, send me an email, help@10minutetrades.com. He does a great job programming for us. What else was I going to tell you? The the magnet trade's been working great. I wanted to show you one more thing. Let me just, where do you find the trades on the various calendars? So a couple of calendars that we use Forex Factory, of course. You go to forexfactory.com, just click on calendar, and then you get a week's worth of events and you can go through them. And Forex Factory color codes the reports that they think are the most eventful. So they're not always right. And that's why people hang around with us because we know which ones are the most eventful. But it's a great starting point and they do a great job. And then we use investing.com also to get some of our setups. Let me go to the right screen here. Investing.com. They have a calendar. You go to investing.com, tools, economic calendar, and then next week for next week. And we could look at all the reports that are going to show up next week. And you notice, there's a holiday in Japan and in China and South Korea. So if there was news in those areas, they probably wouldn't be great news events to trade. And because it's a holiday, they're probably not releasing news. So reports might be delayed. If there's a Chinese report that you're expecting, it might be delayed by a day because of their holidays. But investing.com uses number of stars to show how impactful an event is. And then we also use, there are many, many, many calendars. We also use Financial Juice. Let me show you Financial Juice because we love their website also. Not only do they have a calendar, but their pro version also has a squawk box where you can listen to the news in your headset. And it's a great tool, a great tool. Just like when we're doing earnings, we use Thinkorswim to look at our charts at the stock charts because you can open a Thinkorswim account for an incredibly reasonable amount of money, very cheap, and you can have a Thinkorswim account. So just a reminder, everyone, you can join with us for 97 bucks. One trade can easily pay for everything that you pay for a month. You can get a winning trade that would be 3 times that. So join with us. I'll send an email. If you need some help or you have questions, send an email to help@10minutetrades.com. But we want you to join up with us so we can teach you how to do this. We love doing this. We think it's the best way to trade. You don't have to watch charts for 8 hours a day. You can pick your times. And in fact, the magnet trade, we're going to have a special event in a couple of weeks. So keep an eye on your email. We're just gearing up for it now. And I want to thank everybody for coming to my Friday stream. And I really enjoy doing these. So thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. And I'll see everybody next week in the trade room for some more awesome trades. So my name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director at 10 Minute Trades. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next week. All right, everyone. Take care.